All right, perfect, cool.
All right, so we are recording. We have a special guest. We have Bryan Giger, and I would just like Bryan to introduce himself. And we're going to talk amazing things.
Wait, could you restart that? By the way, last name is Giger.
Like, oh, sorry. Oh,
don't worry.
You could just. No, it's okay. Maybe you could just like. It's Giger, but I apologize. You don't have to edit it. It's like my mistake. Sorry.
Let's restart.
Bryan Giger. No, it's okay.
All right, so yes. So yeah, actually it's Giger. My last name is Giger, but most people call me Giger. It doesn't really matter. But a quick thing about me. So I just finished my bachelor's degree. I study in Switzerland, St. Gallen. So after high school here, I grew up in the Philippines. I moved to Switzerland, took a Bachelor of Economics. Over there, I went into I tried to bring technology into university because I'm very passionate about programming, technology, and so on. So I like to teach programming, and I like to teach how do you say this, people about technology, and that's sort of my advocacy, if you will. Education is very important for me. As to what I've done, I'd say maybe one thing is being in school and teaching a programming class there, credited programming class. Another thing is that I founded a few startups focused on education, and I'm part of Cairo Society Europe. So it's a network of young entrepreneurs under 25. We found a company starting trying to solve one of the world's biggest problems under 25. There's the network for that. So that's a little bit about me. Right now, I'm working with the Red Cross and part of Dashboard Philippines, building software to fight COVID in the Philippines. I think there was Bolo. You already interviewed someone part of our team, Weston, the other day. So yeah, that's it.
Bryan, I just want to say thank you for doing what you can to help people in terms of this pandemic. And I just want to acknowledge you for taking initiative to start something within the country. And I would just like to know, what kind of work do you do with Red Cross? That if without it, how is it going to be harder for the government or for groups to act?
Right. So how do you say it? With the pandemic sort of entering the Philippines in February and it blowing up in March, so the Red Cross said that, or at least Senator Gordon had the advocacy or the goal to test as much people. His goal is 13% of the population. However, at that point, the Red Cross didn't have sort of the digital systems to scale, because when you think about testing millions and millions of people, you need to be able to track their records accurately and basically track the swabs and match it to the people and have a sort of, you need to automate processes, right? You need to scale, and to scale means automating processes, so you don't have that sort of labor cost. The labor cost goes down, and as well as you don't have people working on stupid stuff, meaning you don't want people manually sitting in a room manually typing all of these paper forms, and because that's just a waste of human capacity, right? And so what happened was we came in, a dashboard came in, we were asked to help the Red Cross, and we came in around some mid-May. And at that point in time, the Red Cross was struggling, because what would happen is that, for example, you come into Naya Airport, you're basically having to fill in a paper form, the case investigation form, submit it to the Coast Guard with your swab. The Coast Guard would send papers by the kilo to Red Cross, and people there would manually, type what's in the paper to the computer. And it was prone to errors. So there was points where you couldn't find the people because the name or address or phone number or email was misspelled, and it's very bad. And so sometimes results got sent out weeks after the test. And what we did, well, the first thing we did is to optimize the encoding process. So from 6 hours, we were able to process a flight in 1.5 hours of 300 people. So that sped up the process. And I think when you look at systems like this, when you try to fix problems, you look at where the bottleneck is. So that was the first bottleneck, encoding. The next bottleneck was sort of, how do I issue results fast? So we started emailing results, and we emailed negative results as soon as the pathologist approved and signed off on it, so that you don't have to wait for someone to send the manual email when the computer can do it itself, right? Especially with a lot of thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah.
I
So that's
just
what, yeah.
I'm just so inspired that you're an example of how the youth could make an impact. So what essentially you do is to make things faster, such that like data is processed in efficient ways with like a lower level of of fault in it. And I just want to acknowledge you for taking that initiative. That's really cool. And I want to know why should people care? So like these things sound like yeah, you're making a difference, but like why should people care that they should make a difference? And what are the cool things? If we were to invite the people who are just like interested in cool things, why are the things that you're doing with Red Cross? Why is it cool? What are the interesting projects so far that you think would capture the youth's attention?
Right. So before answering why should people care, question to ask is what can the youth do? We have a culture, I think, in society here where the youth don't know shit. Like, you know, people, the youth can't do anything. They still need to learn experience. They need to get experience and so on. But these people like sort of, I think, forget the fact that, you know, we live in a different age. We grew up with technology. We grew up with internet. We know how to do things, or we discover doing things that the older generations might not know how to do, right? Especially since technology evolved so fast in the past 20, 30 years, like fastest advancement of, I think, innovation in humanity, and every year there's something new. So with technology and with the shift to automation, I think the youth has a lot to contribute. And so if you're able to contribute, why not contribute to easing human suffering? I mean, that's what the Red Cross is about, right? How do you ease human suffering? How do you improve processes? And I mean, even if it's not physical suffering, or even if it's not physical like pain, being asked to do something monotonous and tedious day in, day out does not give people the opportunity to build their potential, and to learn something new, to build themselves up, because they're stuck there. I mean, so that's why people should care. So if you can do something to ease people's lives, you're basically not only improving their lives, but giving them the opportunity to do something else that either makes them happier, or lets them invest in their future. Otherwise, you know, it's a whole, like, you know, poverty, poor people are poor, not to sound, you know, elitist, but, you know, people are like, poor people remain poor because they don't have the opportunity to invest in themselves, and they don't have, like, you know, that freedom of choice. Poverty is the lack of choice. And, you know, a way to help people out of poverty is to give them choice, and you do that by removing things that the hindrances to that choice, right? So those are my thoughts. And I think you said something else. I think I missed it. Like, what are
Yeah,
cool things
like
Red Cross is
what
doing?
are the
So
projects that like
that,
people should stay tuned for?
right. One is the COVID-19 platform. I mean, we're always improving that software. We're building up we're trying to make the experiences easy for the user, so the people getting tested, but also we're building up the lab system so that it's much faster, right? So right now, I think we recently launched a feature that allows people who get tested to get, how do you say this, to track their specimen, so they'll know when it's coming from the swabbing site to the lab, or which part of the lab it's in. So, you know, like a FedEx system, like a tracking package system for your swab. So we recently released that to ease the uncertainty. And what happens now is when you're swabbed out, when you get an email saying this is your tracking code, no, not an email, a text message. This is your tracking code, follow your swab here, and if you have problems, go to this website and write us, right? So it's all about creating those. Right now, the focus is, well, one is improving the lab. Two is creating like better communication between people, the people, the customers or the users, and the Red Cross system and operations.
And
The
is
other,
that what Dashboard is doing, or is that what you're doing separately from Dashboard?
no, it's right now it's interesting because the dashboard team is working at Red Cross, so it's kind of like there's no defined line
Mhm.
between Red Cross and Dashboard, and, you know, at least for this project, right? So the core team is having like certain uh, doing a lot of things for the project, and we're all like card carrying Red Cross volunteers now. So that's it's not a line anymore. There's no specific line. That's the same thing, I would say. And
That's
it
so
really doesn't
cool.
matter because like the goal at the end of the day is how do I improve people's lives the most? And like having a label doesn't have any impact on that, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that Red Cross wants to build a diagnostic lab to like open up a diagnostic lab where we're going through the concept right now. So I find this project cool because it not only presents another lab like that, because Red Cross strong point is blood. Like they've always started with blood as blood bank and so on, blood donations. And by the way, plug in. We really need blood right now, so if you could donate blood, just go to the Red Cross and donate blood. But since we have so much blood and we're strong at blood, then why not use that to research infectious diseases in the Philippines, dengue, hepatitis, and so on. So we're looking at building up a diagnostic lab to research that stuff and also to provide people with opportunity to get tested as well, building up the national health capacity, so to speak.
So
Um,
you're thinking of now medium-term solutions to long-term
yeah,
solutions,
yeah,
like after
medium to long term
the,
solutions.
the pandemic. And I was wondering, I'm just super, have you started before, or like did this pandemic give you that boost that I need to step up as someone who wants to help people?
I mean, I think I've always had the drive to help people. I mean, even at university, I would host like every week. I'd host a programming class. Anybody who wants to learn programming, come by like Monday, I think, from 6 to 10 p.m. and I'd just be there and teach. And from that on, it was a startup that tried to build. I think our phrase was build innovation ecosystems in developing countries to basically close that skill gap between mature countries who had the opportunity to teach advanced technology and developing countries who never really had that information knowledge flowing in and to learn that so that people have the opportunity again to make something and to do something. And so now I got lucky. I would say I got stuck here in the Philippines for the pandemic. I was actually planning to go back to Switzerland in February, but my flight got canceled, and so I was working on a data set, like collecting a data set on COVID information from the ArcGIS. So basically, the initial COVID dashboard of the government. It was like this map thing, and I was pulling information from that, putting it on Kaggle. And then I heard that Weston was doing Dashboard Philippines, so I just started helping there. And then it just evolved and evolved and evolved, and here we are right now. And the, it was a great learning experience and an opportunity to inspire others and to teach others as well. I mean, as Weston said, most of the team is like very young. Like we have 18, 19-year-olds making decisions, building software at this scale, and that's a great opportunity to lead others and
And one
experience.
observation I could see is that you think differently, and I would like to know your approach to education. Like how
So,
do
what do you mean by
you yourself,
different?
like what are your like what I mean by that is you feel that it's things are possible, and then you make them happen. And
Right.
for the most part, maybe it's my community, I guess, or like the people I've been exposed to, is there's a dream, but like there's always a, oh, but I have something else to worry about. That's why I can't figure out my dream. But for you, like the way I experience like listening to you, it's like there's something that I care about, and I want to make things happen and provide concrete like benefits towards other people. And I just posit that it's people who think differently or people who approach education a certain way are those people who can make things from an idea to reality.
Mhm. Sure. I mean, like education. I mean, I think we formalize education too much. I mean, education at the very bottom is just learning, and just like any hobby, if you want to do something, whether it be gaming or programming or whatever, you're gonna learn about it. So I mean, like for example, Pokemon, you read the stats off like Pokemon Wikipedia. I forgot what it's called. Uh, I forgot that page, but
Mhm.
basically you read the stats off. You try to optimize your game, the way you play, and so on. And everybody does it. So one thing is learning by yourself. Just because it's a serious topic doesn't mean you can't do it, or it's different from learning how to play a game or learning how to be good at a game. And the other thing is that I think that the education system right now, or at least the cultural context of education, is it puts it as a formal thing that you need a degree for, et cetera, et cetera. But the world is changing. I mean, before, perhaps in the 20th century, yeah, it was needed because you needed to, how to operate machines, or you needed formal education. You had education system where you had one lecturer and a bunch of people listening and writing things down. But now with the advent of automation and the fact that we don't need people for factories, why are we still teaching people like they work at a factory? Why do we need people that sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day, just copying stuff off the board and repeating it in the test, but not teaching people to think? Right now, it's all about, if you want to do something, learn about what you need to learn to do it, and then start reading about that, right? Or start watching videos and so on. And then the next thing is just try it out and start working on projects. I mean, the best way to learn is projects, right? So I got to my level right now because I did a lot of like random small projects, and that gave me the contextual experience, the knowledge and experience to build the Red Cross system. So yeah, education, I think the role of the teacher right now should move from a teacher, a lecturer, to a mentor, right? To guide people and to give them like the challenges they need to get to the next step. Challenge-based learning.
I love I just want to share shit. I'm sorry. It's like I interrupt people. I don't know if it's my delay or like I don't know, challenge for me. But how I want to respond to it is I completely agree with you 100%. And as someone who is a debate coach and founded like debate camps for different types of students, right. I really agree with you 100%. And the reason why I'm so freaking passionate about this is because I was the student who hated school every day. I felt like it was a prison, and I felt like I wasn't learning, even when I had good grades, even when like I passed my exams with flying colors. And for the most part, I sucked. And the reason why I sucked at it is because like, I don't think this exam would help me for the things that I need in the future. And that's one of my biggest frustrations why I teach debate and public speaking, because I want students to understand that they have to question authorities and push them to reinvent themselves and evolve. And I completely agree with you that it's just like a industrial complex where, all right, children here will be dropped off and the parents will go to work and they hate their lives, but then they can be the next parents that drop off their children to school. And these are taxpayers. And it's like, all right, that's awesome. That's how we can build a state. But like, how about we build like states that make people actualize and be creative different ways that in terms of the gaps we see in our society. So I just really want to let you know that I'm glad that human beings like you exist. And I'm glad that I'm getting to share my platform with you in order for those types of narratives within the education system to be there, right?
I have a question for you, Bolo. Just what you said earlier, like brought the question, like where do you draw the line between like what's like, I mean, from your experience, you said like, why do I need to learn this and so on? And I know that, school is not always fun, but the fact is there's some things that you really need to learn, that you have to learn that aren't fun, but you need to. So where do you draw the line between, the useless, stuff and the things that are super important?
Bryan, I just want to say thank you for that question, because I wanted someone to ask that before, but like I was never asked that. And I just like this as an opportunity to explain. Sure. So I love that question. For me, I think it's about the process and flipping the script. So right now the script is, you got to know the basics, like even my smart teachers would say, like, oh, first principles, blah, blah, blah. Right? And I agree with them, like, think with first principles. But they kind of sound condescending. But for me, it's really about the activity first and the adventure of making mistakes, and then knowing, oh, that's why it's necessary to understand these boring things. But if you go boring things first, it's like, fuck that. Like, I want to make my first jump. So I think Super Mario was like a really revolutionary game, because it was about doing the thing first, making the mistake, and then when you die, you understand, oh, I have to jump. Oh, I have to jump over this turtle or whatever, right? So I think it's not about drawing the line, but for me, it's about what is the process. And for me, it has to be about starting with fun, excitement, open communication, like self-expression, and inclusivity of different ideas and different people. That's a healthy place to start. And I'm just so pumped that I get to have conversations with people like you about this. And I feel like you value my opinion about it. And it's wonderful. Yeah. So,
Thank you too. Thank you for the opportunity. And I totally agree. It's all about the process. It's about listening to people, right? Just because, you know, in the classroom should be a place for everybody to learn. I mean, the teacher can learn something as well, right? And nobody's high and mighty about
Bryan,
things.
I'm curious. If we were just like a hypothetical, right? Like, I think you, Weston, and I, and other of my friends are for me, are people who like doing cool things, right? And in the hypothetical situation where we would make an online school, how would you go about it? Like, what do you think would be the first 3 steps, and what could it look like?
So let's I mean, I'm strong with programming, so let's assume the school is about programming, right?
Okay.
So the way I'd work it out is, you know, challenge first, right? You give people a problem to solve. Maybe you tell them that at some point you want to build this application, or what do you want to do? Another approach would be to say, what do you want to build? What do you want to do? And if someone says, I want to be building, let's say, I don't know, my first website or so on, then you give, okay, then this is the things you have to learn. You know, these are the technologies you need to learn. And based off these technologies, you know, what's the first step here, and here are the resources. And I would say you can leverage existing resources. So the role of the teacher in this online school would be to guide the person to build what they want to build, and basically collate useful resources from the internet, because there's no point in recreating the amazing content. You just have to identify them and send them a link. So once they have that, the next step would be, okay, that's the first challenge. So the role of teacher would be get the resources, give the challenge, so that the student can at some point in the future be able to build what they want to build or what they want to create. And this could be, you know, because people are different. They have different motivations. They wanna create things, and it really doesn't matter what you want to create. Like, question is, how do you learn and how do you get there? And how can I help you learn to get there? How do I enable you?
I really want to share, like, I just really want to add something to the conversation, because I asked my, like, I don't know, a person I really look up to, or like, quote unquote mentor, but like, there's no titles, but like, I have conversations with him from time to time when he's not busy. And I asked him, I want to make an impact by lowering the employment rate in the Philippines. Because right now we're at 43 or 45%.
Lowering the unemployment rate?
Yeah. And just jumping into what you were saying, I think like what's on demand really with distance learning is like personalized learning programs for people in ways that it works for them. And for who, like for students, like children, teenagers, and adults alike. And I think one skill set that we have as like, I don't know, like I have, like in terms of in the Philippines, because we're talking about the employment rate of the Philippines, is that I feel like Filipinos are very, and this is a generalization for me, but this is how I experience them, is patient and good at explaining things from different angles and all that stuff. And I was just like thinking about if we could, like if I could create a platform where I could connect people with the things that they want to learn with the people who know how to do it, how cool would that be? And like to what extent could I like give people jobs with the skills that they already have and connect them from different people all around the world? So for example, like I may not be good at programming, but I guess like I'm good at explaining things in terms of books. Like what's inside this book, I can explain it to a 10-year-old. So if that's my skill set and like their parents want them to learn like what are in these books that I've read already, I think that would be something that could make personalized learning programs for these individuals that can't like work in the factory systems simulated into the digital world. Wala lang.
That's pretty cool. The only caveat I have, I mean, personalized learning is awesome, but the only caveat is how do you scale it, and that's a challenge we're facing right now. Because I mean, personalized learning is effective, it's successful, but it's expensive. And so I think the challenge would be not so much like building that personalized learning, but how do I make it cheap and accessible for most?
Accessible.
And also,
Yeah.
how do I tell people about it, and how do I tell people about it? How do I motivate people that this will help them and achieve what they want to achieve? And so that's my thought. But I think it's very cool, and
And for
that
anyone who's listening right now, if you know how to make things accessible, and if you know how to make things like part of the culture, like to make it like or build awareness about it, please let Brian and I know. Well, I just wanted to see like if that was something possible, because I think you're the type of person that could like definitely definitely be a game changer within the education industry, just like by how I hear you how I hear you talk about things and how you make things happen, and like what other people say about you. So just wanted to let people know that like maybe in the future we can build something cool, and maybe it starts from this recording. You know what I mean? Like oh, but like it's a long shot, but I don't care. I think that's so cool.
I mean, long shots like you hope for long shots, right? Like the long shots are where you want to be and where you want to go, right?
Oh,
Just
so I have a question for you. Think big or think small. I don't know, like general terms. Now. I just want to.
what is think small? What is think small?
Or fine. Think long term, like super goals, like bring people to this type of Elon Musk goals, or is it like I want to feed the all the tricycle drivers that lost their job during this pandemic? Like what do you prioritize, and like what's your model when it comes to solving problems, long term and short term?
I don't think that's a good dichotomy, or that's a good dichotomy to have, because what you should like, I mean, look at the Red Cross project. Like, it's a question of where can I help most right now, and what can I do right now, and then if things work out, you find your niche, and if you find your niche, you can start looking medium term and then long term, right? So like the first thing was, how do I fix this encoding mess, right? How do I get this, like, that people don't work, don't have to type these things? How do I can I digitize it? This is the bottleneck. So optimization before and after the bottleneck doesn't help, right? Because if you look at the manufacturing process, you optimize before the bottleneck, things pile up on the bottleneck. If you optimize after the bottleneck, there won't be enough stuff going to leverage those machines. So you look for the bottleneck.
Right.
And really, like, and the easiest way is to see, you look around you and you say, okay, what can I fix, or what can I improve? And then do that enough, you'll find something that will click, and that's the next step, right?
What I'm learning from you, and the reason why like I agree with you that I'm wrong, because it's like it's not mutually exclusive, or like the question is wrong or like faulty, because it's not mutually exclusive. There are things that you can do in the short term that can impact the long term now, and like understanding like what you were saying about bottleneck. And that's when I understood, okay, that's what you mean by bottleneck. It's like I really don't understand it. Like some of my friends say that a lot, but I never gotten to understand it really. Like since this conversation, but this conversation, I get it. Like where can you take out like some space or make a spirally or whatever so that it goes faster.
Things flow better, right? Things
Yeah,
flow better, and
yeah.
that's that. Happy that I helped with that. But
You
I
know
want to say,
where I think where the bottleneck is in terms of I think people doing cool things for their lives and people getting involved in doing cool things. I think the bottleneck exists where there's so much like smart things, but it's really the way it's communicated. People don't seem to understand or to like join the bandwagon. So like there are more people who be willing to go to a BTS concert in Singapore from the Philippines and take certain planes, right? Because like I dance in hip hop is an easier thing to communicate to people. And I was just like wondering, how do we communicate like these important things that help people to people who really don't understand it, but they are driven by pop culture, entertainment, comedy, art, and all those things. I think. What do you think about my thought about that being the bottleneck on how?
so one thing, I think that communication is extremely important. That's why what you do here, this podcast, is very important, because it's a kind of communication. It's a communication from, people like me, I would say, that have these perspectives, and it gives me a platform to say what I think, and maybe other people listen, and it inspires someone. I hope it inspires someone. I hope it makes change happen. So communication is extremely important. That's what I think. But I also think that, you know, like just getting like something to the target market, like that's definitely a role of communication. I mean, you know, if you have something and you're not able to match it to people that could take advantage or use it and improve their lives. That's a role of communication. That's an extremely important role of communication. I mean, that's why we have marketing, right? Marketing and sales. The purpose is to communicate what the company has to people that could use it or that would use it because it adds value to their lives. And that's how communication adds value and functions, I think.
Yeah, and I just really want to say that it's so important for people who are active in social media, to share like these advocacies, because it gives like a connection for people to, I don't know, probably like donate, probably like take action and participate, all those things. We have the same like we have similar perspectives about education. My question to you is, what kind of teachers should students seek? I'm starting with the premise that, like, because of the internet, you can seek the teachers that you want. And for you, like, when we talked about before we were recording, we were talking about mentors, or like people who influence you and the people that you learn from. What are your thoughts about it? Like, how should we seek people that we could learn from?
Good question. I mean, I think the role of the teacher is a mentor. So anybody can be a teacher, right? Can be a guide. That's what I've been saying. So what kind of teacher should people seek? People should seek teachers or mentors that help them grow, give them challenges that they can work on to self-improve, right? That's what I would say. Either it could be just pointing someone towards a book that would be beneficial, or a tutorial or a video. That's already a form of teaching. It's passing on knowledge.
And
So
for
it's
you, what kind of teachers do you have, or like who do you look up to, or who do you learn from mostly?
So, I mean, the only reason why I got here, like to where I am right now, is because someone sort of put faith in me and gave me things to do when I was in high school. Um, and I've had people like that along the way that helped and you know gave that perspective, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm happy to, and I'm happy to be that person for the next generation. And that's sort of a core thing of what we do at Dashboard and Red Cross. We try to get young people in that have the motivation. So motivation is extremely important. Have the motivation to contribute, have the motivation to learn, and then give them the like things that they can work on, and the support in case they run into problems that they learn, and later on they become the ones teaching the next people, the next generation, so to speak,
If you were
because
to
they've learned.
describe, sorry for that.
No, go.
No, if you were to describe your students, what are they like, and who are like, yeah, what are they like?
Like a bit like me, motivated, want to help, want to learn, takes initiative. Like, okay, this might be a problem. I wanna try tackling this. Like, how do I tackle this? And yeah, so those three things: motivated, has initiative, and wants to learn and wants to help. Four things. Yeah, those are the characteristics, and not afraid to speak up, has the confidence, right? There's a certain kind of confidence, but confidence like is something you grow as well. Like, as a high school student, you're probably not that confident in what you know, right? But you want to help, so you do something, and then you become part of projects, and then you become more confident through that, and that's how you grow as well. Like your self-worth, your what you can do, what you know you can do, where you can help, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I have noticed that the people who like are my students, many of them remind me of me in terms of being disgruntled about things in society. It's like I just like people who think that there's a better alternative to how like we treat people, or like like how schools have policies, or like how, I don't know, like family cultures and structures are sometimes a bit limiting towards the the child and all that stuff. So, and I just really want to like point out and say that people who are like in their mid 20s, like us, I really feel that there's so much potential for different types of people like us to start becoming role models for the younger generation that they reach. And I just want to acknowledge you for the fact that you are creating like a next level of generation, or like the next generation to be you, or like I do feel like you get to multiply yourself after like you taught them certain skills.
Yeah, I get that, and thank you for that. I think like really important is the mindset. I think for both of us, like the mindset of why not, right? Why not? Why not? Like you can't do this. Why not? You know, that sort of thing, and
I see.
that's really critical to have.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and from that why not, you that's how you're able to create, because you're not happy with how things are, and that becomes the I think the core, the seed, or yeah, the seed for growth.
Awesome, Brian. What do you call this? The last conversation I'd love to have with you is this: what are your top two challenges that you have right now, like in terms of like areas of growth for rather for yourself or for your initiatives, and how can other people help?
So one thing is that one of the challenges is how to lead better, you know, because leading is, well, for me, leading is giving people the things, again, like mentorship, giving people the things they need, the tasks they need to get to the next step, but also aligned with the direction of the organization, right? The direction of the project. We're building the C19 platform. If I have the dev task, I need this feature built. Who do I call on? Because it's aligned with their goals. They want to get to the next step, for example, with front end development that helps that project, but also like, you know, just the right difficulty. So that sort of like, it's always fine tuning, right? And that they're able to take care of themselves as much as possible, of course, with effort. So that's one thing. And the second thing is prioritization. I always want to do too many things. That you know, like also within project, like what do I prioritize, and also like with my life, right? You know, I'm not perfect. I need to prioritize. Okay, like so I'm doing my masters now. I'm starting my masters, and I'm doing this thing. So it's like, well, how do I manage my time while I'm able to do both of that successfully, or can I do both of that successfully at the same time? That's another question. You can't do everything. It's
Mm.
another thing I learned, right? You know, you have to prioritize. You have to drop some things. You're not Superman. You can't do everything, and that's why you need a team to help. And how can people help? One is definitely, you know, well, supporting the project. Others is like contributing. Right? People
Mm.
can contribute in many ways, with advice, with you know, with actual like coding, or helping the project, like with, you know, business side, sales side, marketing side, by contributing their skills. I would say that's how you help. Also, feedback is very helpful. That's how you grow. What about
That's
you? I'm gonna turn that question to you.
Oh, really? Awesome. Shit. I think I think being more honest. I think no, not being more honest. Being honest. I think one of the challenges I'm trying to face is having the actual conversations with people that I need to have conversations with, and confront that, so I could have a sense of freedom, and upliftment, or like and apologize to the people that I need to apologize to.
Right.
That's those are my main challenges. I think like if I am able to do that, like even if like they appear to be small, that will give me so much freedom and energy to pursue like more goals. Or like for example, maybe I know someone who's really amazing, but like I'm mad at that individual. You know what I mean, so I can't invite and then share my platform to him or her, right? So
Right.
that's the I don't know,
Sounds.
my
Yeah.
area of growth. I think like those human moments where people forgive and all that stuff can lead to great things.
Yeah. So
Can lead to, you know, maybe like for example, I don't know, like I'm mad at the person about something, but then I think it would be great with Brian's connection to help him out with the initiatives that we have.
mhm,
For me, it
mhm.
takes the forgiveness and courage to talk to that individual to connect the
Yeah.
both of you. It's just a hypothetical, but
Right.
that's my perspective. And thanks for asking and being curious as well about it.
That's
But
cool.
I just want to end with a note that if you want to contribute to the initiatives of Bryan, this amazing human being, this blessing that we have. And I'm happy
You're
that
being too much.
here in the Philippines to
You're
help
too
out.
much, man.
Yeah, please message us if ever you get to interact with this content. And with that, that's the show. See you all.
All right. Thanks, Bolo.